as I tuned in with your soul essence, first I looked at the colors. First of all, your auric field today is coming through as green. So it's heart space, heart centered, very balanced, grounded energy as well. You seem to be in a good place. There is just balance and harmony coming from your center, from your being. So whatever you've been going through in the past, like you are managing to find your center and source of peace and calmness from within, rather than needing external as best as you can. We have our moments, but you're doing good, so just keep at it. And also your chakras overall are fine. We will just be working with the lungs, and I'll talk about that in detail later. So this is your aura. Auric field color frequency changes depending on what we are going through. It can change within a matter of minutes if something upsets you, but this would be average today. Your essence, your soul, most dominant color frequency is light purple, like lilac. It's very beautiful, and there are some indigos as well, but lilac purple is what I'm reading from you. It's very divine, very light frequency. There's different spectrum of purple souls. Sometimes they're very deep purple. Yours is more lighter. It's more, it feels angelic to me. And also when I tuned into where you come from, your origin, coming from the Orion Nebula. Have you ever looked at the Orion constellation, and have you ever seen a picture of Orion Nebula? It's magnificent. I'm going to send you a photo of it. It's Nebula. Wow. So I believe you coming from this place of angelic realm, and to be of service to universe, to creator, to creation. So it's very much your soul frequency is aligned to service to others. And it seems also your previous incarnations, like you are here on a mission, and even your previous lives in other star systems, you are acting as a guide, from what I'm seeing, as to support others, because you are connected to divine through your soul essence. So you're bringing that to lower densities. So in the Orion is where most of your soul history was shown to me, the Orion constellation. There are many different star systems. It's such a busy constellation. You originating from Orion Nebula, the best frequency match for you as you were descending into lower densities was a star system called Alnilam. I'll put it in the email. And this is the race of beings, humanoid beings called Egaroth. These are the ones that Elena Danaan is talking about, if you're familiar with her story or her book.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I follow Elena, and she talks about the Egaroth, and when she describes their eyes, I always feel like that resonates with me.
That is like very interesting, because I believe this is your origin of your individual journey in a denser realities, but still 6D. I believe you became Egaroth person. You took on Egaroth body, and I don't see you really being there on a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. I see you there for like 600 years approximately in one body. It's a 6 density. So it's not really physical. It's non-physical. It's more like ethereal body of an incredibly wise and enlightened state of being. And as Egaroth, you learned the Egaroth ways and everything they know. They are the elders of the Orion constellation. They are part of the Council of Five that Elena is talking about. And I believe you are connected to this Council of Five. You are your mission or your placements, your missions, not just one, and your placements in lower densities are overseen by the Orion Council of Five. That's what I wholeheartedly believe.
Interesting. Yeah, there's something about Elena that I'm very drawn to, and maybe that makes sense because she talks about that group quite a bit.
Yeah, and
when I listen to her,
I'm aligned to that, because her she says father or DNA was given from Egaroth to her. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I knew something was there. I'm just like, I feel like I've known her before, or something about her is so familiar.
Oh, I have goosebumps. Yeah. Awesome. So that would be the beginnings. And this is where you became aware of what is needed, what is required. This is at Egaroth, you were shown the polarity in lower densities. I'm shown that you are being taken to different star systems and planets within Orion constellation, and you're just observing. There is a lot of time in your soul history, in your soul records, of you just being an observer. And you have higher guides of the Egaroth, and they're preparing you, teaching you, having to have an understanding, but mainly as an observer of the ways of others. And that frequency of observer is very strong with you still. But in this life, you're meant to actually start putting things to practice. Everything you've known and observed for millennia, in this life, you are pushed a little more at the forefront, where you build your own identity and lead by example in your own way. No longer lost in feeling other people's energies and doing as they need or what is expected. No more. You're not supported there anymore. You have to discern and follow your heart and live your truth, and everything else will align as a result of that, including friendships and people and all that. I'll talk about that later.
It's interesting. Yeah, spot on.
I'm glad.
When I feel personally like I'm not doing well, it's maybe too much of that observing in my life and lack of action and just hanging back and watching. And then I feel that pressure of like, no, you need to do something, or you need to take action, or like you said, lead by example, like in my own way. And when I start down that road, I do see people around me kind of, you know, almost not emulating what I'm doing, but I feel like it does quickly like affect others, you know, like where it's hard to describe, but just like my choices, sometimes I notice other people are very aware of my choices.
Amazing. That's the way. And you immediately also get more energy. You get more energized by life, by your own higher self, because that's the way. That's what they want you to do. The earlier is your comfort zone. That's what you're familiar with.
Very comfortable.
But it's great that you're aware of it, that you can now make it more conscious.
It's funny too, now that you're mentioning it, like when my guides don't speak to me very often, but when they do, it's like they're like old men and they talk to me like I'm a little girl. And they're like just reassuring me and telling me, and I'm like, can I sometimes have like more nurturing female guides? And they're not like that. So I wonder, they're pushing me a little bit.
Yeah, these are the Orion ones. These are they are like that, the elders of light, and they never really get too emotional or too playful. They're very wise, and that's their vibe. So that's your Orion guides.
That's interesting. And I do recognize that. And I feel like I had a certain guides for a long period of time, and then they changed. And the one that I've had in the last 3 years that comes through sometimes, just like his voice, I'm like, he's a little bit harder on me, like a little bit more like just like matter of fact, and more like a little bit more pressure of like, you're fine.
But in the last 3 years, you stepped into higher frequency of your being. More of your soul is coming in. So it's like the time is now for you to be who you came here to be, you know?
I feel that. And it's been harder. I know that. And I think that's why I've been doing more searching for information and like just trying to understand what's happening. Because I do look around me and I feel very not alone, like I'm not lonely, but I do feel like I'm not relating to others. Something has happened, you know?
I'll touch on that.
So keep going. Sorry to interrupt. I just got really excited.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Thank you. So within Orion, let's stay still there. Once you completed your training and your attunement with the Egaroth way, your first mission, I was shown, was in Alnitak star system within Orion, and you were directly involved with the Orion League humans that were in the process of their personal ascension and integrating polarity. Very much similar frequency than here now on Earth, but just a little bit higher. They were the body that you took on of the human in Alnitak was close to 4D. So, you know, it was really at the verge of their ascension from, you know, late 3D to 4D. And you seem to have had 4 missions there. So you had 4 different bodies within Alnitak star system. And some of it, there was an intense one as well. There was, you know, it wasn't easy. It was quite hard for you to go, 2 densities down from your natural state is 6D, and suddenly you are 4D, and you were a member of a society that was, heavily deceived and manipulated by the darker forces, and trying to overcome that as one of them. You have that experience of that, quite intense for you. And after that, you were then also going on another mission to Betelgeuse in Orion. Also 4 times, 4 missions, 4 different bodies, and also for the just different societies, different star systems that were attempting to integrate polarity or to find a way to transcend the conflict and oppression of darker forces. So it's not too many, but still it's a lot of experience of that. And that kind of is preparing you for, or was preparing you for your experience on Earth. Because you're also here at this time of ascension and transcendence, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. So would that be something that I'm holding as traumatic, or more just like educational? Intense. Okay.
And educational, yes. You're getting the hang of it, but still still it's contrast to your essence, because your essence is light purple, very angelic, very peaceful. That's your natural state, peace,
Yep.
And this is not so easy. So you are learning to
manage.
And it gets much better once you integrate and understand who you really are, and use your essence as your safe haven. And no matter what will be going on from now on outside of you, you know that you came here to bring peace, balance, and harmony to this world. You came to bring uplifting energies, higher consciousness. You came to hold the ascension codes. You came to anchor the new earth vision by your own just being and seeing it and holding these perspectives and gracefully being as you are. Really, that's your purpose here. So when you came to Earth, I believe you only have 5, 6 past lives or different bodies that you've experienced here. And one of them is Atlantis, but it's not that you lived there for a reason. I'm shown that you were taken there like back in time to experience it for preparation for this time, because something that you're living in this current incarnation is also very closely related to the Atlantean energies and Atlantean consciousness. So I was curious, when was it in Atlantis that you were taken there for observation and for study and teaching and understanding it? You were like at the 90%, almost at the end, like it was very much going downhill. So that's where you were taken with your guides to look and see what was going on there, look and see what the collective consciousness frequency felt like and what was the downfall of it. So I wonder if have you ever come across information about Atlantis or any of the channelings, even in a light way? Can you kind of connect to that, almost like you innately understand that there was a downfall of a collective through individual choices of greed and deceit and service to self, and that now we're attempting to shift that, to rise above rather than make those choices? How do you feel?
Yeah, I have run into that information, and it's always fascinated me because in a way, like human nature, can be so wonderful, but also like so destructive in that story, that I have felt that and thought about it and been like, felt the tragedy. I work with, I'm a jewelry designer, so I work with crystals and gemstones. And so I've always been interested in like the Lemurian, Atlantean information because of their like, the crystal aspect. That's pretty much as far as, and, I've seen movies of like the downfall of Atlantis. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really felt like I've had an incarnation there or anything.
No,
but I've
like an observation.
Been fascinated with it.
Yeah, as I said, this is what I'm seeing. Like you were just taken there to literally be there. But I see you like in a body. You took on a form. I'm not sure if just like a temporary, so that you really feel with all your senses,
the energies.
But then
that makes sense.
It was literally just plugged in
Wiped
to
out.
see it, to witness it, because somehow it's important for your life here and now.
So interesting.
And then several, like 4 or 5 lives in recent era within the last 2000 years. And again, I'm seeing you more as an observer, literally as preparing you for this life. You were just you were incarnated into families that had quite strong imprints of certain either trauma or limiting behavior of human experience, connected some of the ET races, because in your chart, you will see it as well, of what you are actually transmuting. You're helping to clear or dissolve trauma and limited consciousness of certain races, imprints on human consciousness. And in particular, Altair, you'll see that your south and north node is conjunct and opposite Altair at only 0.17 minutes. So it's a very strong alignment. And I'm seeing that you have connection to the advanced beings of Altair that are like the guiding light, but also you're clearing the shadow side of some of the Altairan humans. They are tall, blonde, beautiful humans. They look very much like Pleiadians, very much like you. You would have this Altair genetics, I would almost say, but because I asked if this is connected to your physical human DNA lineage, and it's a yes. So it's the Altair collective karma that is your mission to help clearing, amongst many others. You're not the only one that is doing this, but this is what you plugged into. So Altair humans collective karma is shallowness and choosing more kind of service to self and doing what's best and for the fame or glory or approval of others, or like socialite, anything like that. So I'm not picking that from you, but from the genes, from the
everyone around me, basically.
Yeah. I would say that that's the story of your life. So you are meant to bring higher frequency into this collective consciousness of shallowness. And yes,
so would that be like several families that I've incarnated into?
So,
or just
for example, first of all, the one where you are now, I'm sensing this strongly through possibly your mother's or her mother's
that's it.
life, very much focused on the external and the greater acquaintances. But the one message that I got there, that this person, either your mother or her mother, is doing that because they want to avoid looking at their own shadow or their own side that needs to be worked on. Like it feels very much like a major distraction for them, because they're so afraid to admit their shadowness or their shallowness. And so there's great vulnerability deep inside that behavior. So you want to have compassion for that.
Compassion, yeah. That's really interesting you bring that up, because I have felt that very deeply and have thought about it intensely to try to like, number one, help transmute or like dissolve. But obviously I'm human, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, of course.
But I do understand it in the way that you're speaking about it. I have very strong intuition, and I think so does my sister, and so do my female cousins, and we all think it comes from that line. But that line of women is very judgmental, shallow, concerned with the approval of others over higher, more important things and consciousness. And
this is where you come in. This is where you come in, and all you need to do is just you being myself, and not in a forceful way or making them feel even more vulnerable. The frequency that transmutes all that is acceptance and unconditional love, and just being okay with them being exactly as they are. There's something really piercefully cutting through once you hold conscious awareness that no matter what aspect they show you, you can accept them unconditionally, because you know that there is something, there's light at the center of their soul. Then they will not be afraid to start putting the masks away, in front of you, because you consciously hold that. This is an unconscious communication that then it's instantly picked up on. So suddenly they'll feel safe to go to their essence, you know?
Sorry. Yeah. My mother in particular I've had very frustrating moments, and it comes through in my dreams mostly, where I'm very angry with her. And I had one dream in particular, like fairly recently, where I was so mad at her, and then I saw her, like, her mask come off. Mm-hmm. And underneath she was like the most beautiful, like, childlike energy. And I just like held her.
What a blessing.
That was very important for me to feel that. Yeah, to feel that.
This is totally divine guidance. And when you feel, when you experience anger or express anger in your dream state, it's actually a really important process of expressing it in a dream state, because otherwise it is suppressed and the body takes its toll on it. So it's wonderful to know that your higher self is working with you in a dream state, and it's helping you to process and cope with things.
Yeah.
And what a powerful message right there. Kind of just validating what we said. Excellent. Yeah. So practice more consciously hold state of acceptance, and literally mentally let her know that you are seeing essence, which is very beautiful, and that it's safe for her to reveal that. It's what's coming up now is that the soul is so innocent and pure that this is a coping mechanism for her to be that. She took on the collective so she could fit in. She felt too vulnerable as a very little girl to be her pure innocent state self. So she took on that facade to be safe.
And cope.
Coping mechanism.
Yeah. That is spot on. Yeah, that I can feel that with her. Yeah.
So it's all seeking love. Oh, by the way, in Atlantis, the body that you took on, or that you, like, your consciousness was observing through a body, human body, female human body, that was like a priestess of Vega Lyra lineage. So if you ever connected with kind of the idea of priestess, somehow, you know,
or that energy,
you are her and she's you. It's very convoluted of how you are kind of implanted there. It's almost like hard for my brain to comprehend it, but it was the Vega. And interestingly, your sun in Cancer in 8th house is in it's opposing Vega Lyra. So, and then your vertex, your kind of destiny, is conjuncting Sirius A. So you have this portal of Vega and Sirius inside your chart as a supportive energy of higher consciousness, higher spiritual values that you are meant to anchor in your life and bring into your life. And so you have guides also of Vega and Sirius in your life. And so the fascination perhaps with the metaphysical, fascination with the spiritual and all that is coming through these alignments in your chart.
Yes. That's so interesting. It sounds like hard to like wrap my head around, but that priestess energy, you know, that I became familiar with it through that experience and that knowing I'm supposed to bring here.
Yes. Oh, I'm getting hold it here. What I was just shown is that she was very highly advanced. She held such a high consciousness, and it's because of that she was able to allow this future being come and be with her and look through her eyes. She consciously allowed it. She was consciously aware of that. It's somehow she gave agreement. You know, she was mentally connected to the Council of Five of Orion, to these elders, and they asked her for permission to allow your consciousness to come and see what she's seeing, and she allowed that. And as a result of that, she, like, you are connected. You are like sisters. You are. And she feels like she's you and you are her at the same time. But wow, very interesting. So now as a result of that, what she received from it was being able to see the future. She was then shown the future as a thanks for what she allowed, you know?
Oh, wow.
So oh my goodness, it's amazing. So she felt very grateful for that experience, because she was suffering. Her heart was grieving and feeling really upset over, you know, seeing the collective downfall. And in her prayer, this is the connection that then was then that happened. And it was like an answer to her prayer, because she received some soothing and knowing that in future things will turn around and Earth will be freed and healed. So
yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like the connection of hope. I feel that. Yeah, that's amazing, because I'm always very seeking, drawn to that energy, looking for it. Yeah, it's very feminine and like powerful in it, like a healing, knowing sense.
So
I got chills because I crave that,
She's right here. So I'm actually picking up her consciousness, and she is willing to work with you and to come through you. As she allowed you to come through her, she's now asking for if you want to, and as exchange, she will offer you her wisdom, her knowing, her psychic skills, her abilities, but she's coming in a very pure-hearted way. It feels like you've always agreed that you knew that this will happen as an exchange. There's just strong sisterly bond, it seems to be, between the two of you. And if you can more consciously become aware of her now, there's so much love there.
She can come through. Yeah, the timing is right.
This is so special. I'm so honored. Life is so fascinating.
I know, when I heard your interview on Elena's channel, I just felt so strongly that what you're doing it's like an analytical approach, but it's unraveling those like quantum mysteries that we can just feel, and making it more tactile and allowing it to become a tool. So thank you. I'm so honored to have this session with you.
I appreciate that. So there's a lot more here, so I'll continue.
Okay.
The life just before this one, I believe it was quite recent. I believe you died only in 1975, and there was like few years gap before you were born here. It was a short life. I see that you passed in very early 30s. Also in America, possibly even in the same area, and I wonder even if it could be within the same family, is almost the sense I'm getting, or within the same circumstances. The story that I saw was a person that was, well, it was your soul essence, and you were born just after war, and the society and everything took its toll on your psyche, and you found your way to alcohol and drugs, and that was your way of escaping the the challenging energies that were around you. And I believe that there was an accidental overdose and out. So I wonder, is there a story of that of that kind of faith within the family, or someone who would have passed like few years before you were born?
Not that I can think of like immediately, but my grandfather had a brother that passed. I think it was much earlier. Well, I think he passed, in World War II. But when I look at pictures of him, I do feel like we have a shared essence.
Goosebumps. Okay.
Yeah, but no, I mean, the overdose thing, I mean, there's always stories that people haven't told, and, so, but yeah, that feels very right to me, because when I was born, like my mom always talks about how I seem to like be carrying some trauma into like my early, like she was very worried about me and just held me constantly. And when I think about being born and the way she describes it, it was almost like I was born coming quickly from a previous incarnation.
That was very intense energetically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And astrologically, we can validate that with your 12th house being in Scorpio and your ascendant also being in Scorpio. It's like unfinished energy of very intense stuff. And your black moon, Lilith, is almost at the same degree of your ascendant. And so it's a very intense energy. And also Uranus is right there at your ascendant. So trauma, really, dying in intense emotional state, very sudden, very shocking escape, and hidden, deeply buried in the subconscious movements, and like that's the energy. So you're still transmuting that in this incarnation, and it's important that you understand that it's part of that old identity, and it's part of your soul mission on earth, to help transmute those intense emotions when soul feels lost, when identity is not in the higher self. That person's identity was completely merged with the collective. You literally became a manifestation. Your story was a manifestation of the collective that you live surrounded by. Your story became
got swept up.
So it's not
so
that
interesting.
It's not that it's something, or that it was something wrong with you, or that there should be like, self-judgment, or that it was a failure. Not at all. You were a very pure light, lilac soul that cleared a lot of that collective energy through that experience, through that passing, because there was many of the people that you were surrounded by received a major wake-up call as a result of your sudden passing, and their paths shifted from alcohol and drugs to sobering up and actually choosing
taking a better course.
So I want you
there's so much of that is even in this life, I've spent many phases kind of getting swept up in the energies of the collective and peer groups, and I feel like it's very much part of the human experience. That, I mean, now when I think about it, I'm like, it's very important as far as understanding in order to release it and transmute it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So when you will reflect on this story, I want you to think of that version of you and just send her or him a lot of love and acceptance, and that it's okay now to release all that collective suffering and confusion and kind of vulnerability and all that, and just return to your essence and return to peace, because she's perfect. Okay.
Yay.
It's kind of happening as we say it. So kind of overall, that observer, we talked about the being the observer, being kind of lost in the collective. In this life, you're meant to balance that fully by realizing who you really are, why you came here, where you came from, and embrace that and know that that's your safe space, and just anchor that in your life and let the guidance flow in your everyday experiences. And one of the limitations that you are clearing is fearing kind of deeper connections with people, because there's so much shallowness that in the environment. Even your mom and others in your environment, they don't really have authentic relationships, and you're called to start creating authentic relationships by gracefully touching on truth, because you have this deep intuitive and psychic abilities. Your Lilith in Scorpio in 12th house, although she held a lot of pain and suffering from previous life, once that is clear, she is giving you a lot of psychic intuition into deepest psyche of others. So once you bring that up with a lot of compassion and non-judgment, people will feel safe to open up and be authentic in return. So going forward, you have a lot of light in your life where these authentic and deep connections
can happen,
be embraced. Yes. So in terms of the collective, you have Saturn. Your Saturn is in 11th house and in Libra. So it's all about mastering relationships and using your psychic abilities or your intuition, your discernment in reading frequencies of people. And do they match your truth, your values, your vibe, or not. And
yeah, I have that ability. People are so complicated. Yeah. What you're saying, I was just thinking about that last night, because I've let so many relationships go in my life, just like let them go because they weren't authentic. And I kind of like have this kind of, not a lonely path. Like I have so many friends, but it's very, I'm like craving the time when I have more people in my life with that authenticity in our connection.
It's coming. And that what you just experienced there, it was meant to be. It was part of the process of you starting to stand up for your truth, rather than continuously letting people in that didn't make you feel that like you can be your true self. So that was very important part of the process of you actually claiming and letting the universe know that you are ready to honor your truth and your worth. Astrologically as well, your Chiron, the wounded healer, is in Taurus, which is all about a journey of eventually finding your true self-worth in just your higher self, not necessarily in your looks or your body or what you own. So that was also part of that process.
And that's a good theme. I like that.
So there is such a thing in our charts as part of fortune. It's something that brings you most happiness and alignment. Yours is in Pisces and in 4th house, which means you will find most fulfillment when you create your own safe haven around you within your home, like wherever you are. Home is where your heart is, but creating a beautiful home environment where you feel safe and happy, and focus on long-term visions and long-term projects, knowing that you're enjoying the process rather than the final goal, birthing new projects, new ideas, like with the art, knowing that, you know, maybe start with something, but it's growing bigger and bigger over time. It's your destiny to, through perseverance, reach your highest goals and ideals, and you will be rewarded as you stick with it, as you stick with your plans, and working hand in hand with the Piscean energy of the part of fortune, which is connecting to cosmic divine guidance, and also giving portion of creation of your life to God, like you work together in tandem and going with the flow rather than pushing, controlling how things will go. Yeah. And a lot of compassion, bringing the mother. So you mentioned you're craving that frequency of divine mother as something that's coming from outside in. It's actually you that is meant to embody that, bring it from inside out, and then in return it'll start coming in as well. You
Absolutely
are the mother.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I actually experienced a lot of healing and transformation just through having a child. Like that was just so critical for me.
And do you know why? Because in those several lives on Earth, when you were more as an observer and almost analyzing the deep psychology of the collective that you were observing, you did not have an opportunity to embrace or connect with the inner child and the playfulness. And you must balance that in this life. That's your destiny. And not just awakening your inner child and creating safe space for her to play and be creative, like with the art that you do, but start connecting and looking and pulling out the inner children in people around you, because they're all just holding these masks. Your mother perhaps is your master teacher, and her journey is actually to connect with the inner child eventually. That's what I'm seeing now, that all these shallow people, there will come time when they'll feel safe to drop that outdated coping mechanism, because it feels so nauseating, and suddenly they will just start playing and be really wonderful.
Oh, I love that. That's so hopeful. Oh, so good.
There's one more alignment that I want to tell you about.
Yes.
In Elena's book, I want you to also look at Beta Centauri, Hadar Star system. Your ascendant is conjunct Beta Centauri. So is your Lilith, and then your Chiron is opposing this star system. So when I looked at that, it seems that you were again taken there just to be shown utopia and the ideal society, living in harmony with the planet, with the system, everyone authentically living together, deep connections, unconditional love. It really is like safe haven. And you seem to be bringing that frequency through you, through your ascendant. It's and the purpose of that is this is what the idea or ideal is for the new earth experience in terms of relationships and how we are, how we present ourselves. So you have these Beta Centaurian collective light guidance in your life.
So it's like their energy is a guiding force that's coming through.
Yeah, and it's like you seem to have, you went to see it. It's the codes, or we could say it's like you have a file in you that is within your frequency. Now you're anchoring that somehow in your experience. So it's a paradox, because in a way, because of that, there is a sadness and grief and strong yearning for having that experience, because you're meant to bring it, so it's you're constantly called towards it. So when you're not consciously aware of it, it feels like a grief or a sadness or unfulfilled connection. But once you know that this is where it's coming from, you can release all those feelings and just know that you are the source of that kind of energy and consciousness, and then start teaching others through your own behavior, being authentic and graceful and holding space, and most of all connecting with the inner child, and being playful and creative, excited, adventurous, silly, and all that. Your Mercury, there is actually one more, and I believe this is the last important alignment to mention. North Star Polaris. You are anchored there energetically. It seems your higher self is anchored there for your life here, for the star system, for several incarnations. Like that's where you're
sitting
to. Literally, it feels like it. So, and this is conjunct to your Mercury, planet of your mind, and it's in Gemini in 8th house, and it's a very tight conjunction. It's just really the highest guidance is in you, in your analytical approach of everything. You know through north, where to go, the path. So sometimes when you look for the North Star in the night sky and just feel the love and connection, because somehow guidance. Really on higher planes you're anchored there, along with other collective of incredible beings like the Council of Five, Arcturus, Syrians. There seems to be like a hub for these higher dimensional beings that seem to be anchored there to assist Earth and the star system.
I love that. It's very practical. Tell me about the rest of my previous lives on Earth. Was it, you mentioned that being born into families and clearing the energy of that race within the collective energy. Is there anything specific that I can just consciously clear?
So,
or was it more educational?
Yeah, it was all observing, as I said. All these previous the theme was very similar. The theme in all 5 lives in the recent era, where you're being born into collective that was quite wounded and behaving in that kind of shallow, confusing way. And you became lost in that, or just observing, but being kind of invisible in that experience.
That makes sense. I spent almost the first half of my life doing that now, just watching and learning.
So kind of like
understanding.
And so each time you would have a different identity, but the overall theme is that in each of these lives.
Observing. Yeah, it's like.
And being lost and being a kind of, lost or not knowing how to be you because
of all the other energies involved. Yeah.
And whenever you try to be like them, it caused you suffering. And whenever you wanted to be you, then that also caused you suffering because you couldn't really connect. So it was very difficult. And this is literally the theme for a lot of starseeds worldwide for many decades. So
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see that we are consciously becoming aware of who we really are, and this confusion as a result of that will immediately be resolved. So once you digest that and really integrate it, it's a much more empowering state.
Yes.
Where suddenly you can access everything you need. You're no longer looking for it outside of you, but actually it's inside all along.
It's so spot on. Yes. And I feel like for whatever reason, this time I realized that just snap. I need to stand up for myself and my path and who I truly am. And it was extremely rough for me for a while.
I'm sure. Very intense.
Yeah. It's very intense to finally do that. And that was like back in like 2012 when I started to really stand in my own truth. And I lost a lot of people in my life. And I feel like I'm still a little bit misunderstood, but it's there, that change is what ultimately has allowed me to like finally be happy, like in my authentic experience, with myself. So that makes sense. Like the time is now.
I can totally relate to that. Same here.
Yeah.
Similar experience.
Yep.
There is one core limiting belief that is shifting here now. The old core belief based on your experience in your earlier years and previous life is that what you're looking for, what you need, is not available in this world. This is now shifting rapidly, radically. And instead, now you need to start consciously anchoring a new earth belief where it's such a relief to know that what you need emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually is available to you. Because now you're connected to your higher self. Now you understand that there's an epic orchestration of your experience here, and that there is a lot of energy of beautiful, highly advanced beings full of love and wisdom that are accessible and available to you, whether just through knowing or feeling or whatever way they communicate with you. But also once you have this belief as a core belief that what you need is available to you, your reality will start reflecting that too, and you will have those many more magical synchronicities where amazing things happen, including people will start showing you different aspects of their being.
Wow, that's exciting. Yeah.
So this year until your next birthday, it's a quite busy period for you. There's a lot happening, and there's a lot of mental energy that needs to be expressed in some way. Like, be creative, do whatever you're guided to do. Just for the sake, always ask, will my inner child be happy doing this, creating this? Not, am I going to get this or that as a result of it? Am I going to enjoy creating this and working on this project? That always has to be the motivation, and as a result, the results will be amazing. And then next year, after your next birthday, it'll feel like you're really building a strong foundation for your future ahead. You'll feel much more grounded and anchored, and just everything will seem nicely
falling into place. Yeah, there is a bit of flux right now in busyness. That's spot on. I love your perspective advice on thinking about the process, because I do find myself kind of keeping my eye on the goal and maybe torturing myself too much in the process of things, and then maybe not being totally satisfied with that journey. That's good with decision making of what to pursue, but
at least try to find balance. Okay, a little bit of that, but also, is the inner child, or can I enjoy the process? If you have few options, especially, then always ask, which of these will bring me greatest excitement?
Yes. So this is so helpful, because I think I'm kind of hard on myself with during these times, not instinctually wanting to be more of service to humanity, because I'm not exactly, like you said, I'm such an observer. I'm not very proactive or loud, but I have the ability to create the vision and steer the ship. And if I can just focus on that, then it sounds like that is somewhat starting to fulfill my purpose here.
Very much so.
Of bringing in those energies that I have within me.
Spot on. Your north node, where you're heading, is in Leo, but it's hidden. It's intercepted house in the 9th house. Your Leo is hidden, so it's hard to access it, where you have to work extra hard to actually bring that frequency of Leo out into your life. And your Venus is hiding there too. So once you know that, it's really about you giving yourself permission to embrace the Leo energy aspect, knowing that it's coming from a pure heart and space with you, that it's not about building ego and showing off and doing it for fame. You don't have to worry about that. So it's just, what's clearing now is negative association was made with being seen and heard, because that was always so shallow from what you were witnessing. But you need to recognize that there's a difference between wounded people working on boosting their ego in the Leo way, and there's a difference between you coming out as a sunshine, heart center, loving, generous, entertaining Leo for upliftment of others. Because as you show them that it's safe to be aligned with the inner child that is creative and enthusiastic and really, you know, in a joyful mode, then it's intoxicating for others as well, and they become like that too. So it's safe for you to access the Leo.
I've always shied away from attention. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's what I'm picking up, because the Venus is there. It's that word intoxicating is really right, because it's so beautiful. When you are in that frequency, people will be able to take their eyes off you, and they'll just be mesmerized by it when you really go for it. So
it's okay for me to use that.
Once you know, if you ever, when you experience that moment, then if you hold an awareness that you're doing this to, I can't think of better words than, it's like a virus, but a good virus that you you infect
it's
them
like
with. You want to infect them with that.
I have that ability.
Give them permission to do that too.
Like you said, maybe I have previous wounds of feeling shallow in that energy. But you know, if it's coming from my true place, I have the ability to affect people on that level. I've seen it and been almost like surprised at my own power. So I shy away from it a little bit, probably because I need to consciously clear that it's not shallow. It's, you know, it's powerful, and humanity needs it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I need that.
Really good.
That's so nice. So nice to hear. So helpful for me, because it's like these nuances of my personality. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's almost like these are little blocks that I just need to move aside.
Glad it's
to move forward.